100%, Warren. It definitely, and we need the youth of today. You know, the product of racing is under pressure because of all the other betting sites out there and all the other sports that you can bet on, etc., etc. But the thrill of owning a racehorse, I think shared ownership is the way to go. Yeah. And it opens the door for everybody. Yeah.
Well, our studio changes from week to week, and that's part of the excitement because we go where the guests go, and especially when the guests are from out of town, we'd certainly go out of our way to go and meet them and be with them and spend some time with them. I'm not going to introduce our guests just yet. We must just welcome you all to the In the Box Seat podcast, proudly brought to you by Gold Circle. And we're up at Summerveld this morning at the stables of Duncan Howells in his office. Duncan Howells' office, as you can see by our environment, but you'll eventually find out why we're here, and we'll share that news with you. But Andrew Harrison's not here, sadly. He's up in Ashburton, attending to some other matters. So it's just me today, and it gives me great pleasure to talk to a man from down the coast, from Port Elizabeth, Gqeberha as it's now known, champion trainer, Mr. Gavin Smith. Gav, how are you?
I'm good, Warren, thank you.
An absolute pleasure. When I heard that you were in town, I said to the team, it's so difficult to fit into everyone's schedules, but I said, you're in town, it's a busy week, but we've got to get to Gavin Smith. So it's an absolute pleasure to have you on what's, in my opinion, the best podcast around.
Warren, absolute pleasure, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Now, we always start to share with the public, yes, you were born into a racing family, etc., but tell us a bit more than that, how you got involved, because you could have gone on to be a lawyer, you could have gone a doctor. I mean, how did it all start for you and your family?
Warren, it starts a couple of generations ago. My dad obviously was a trainer, my dad was a jockey, and my dad's dad, Andy Smith, was a jockey and he was a trainer. My dad took over the reins from him when he became ill, and I took over the reins from my father, and worked under him for a number of years. And hopefully I'm hoping to hand down to my son one day, Dean. And my mother and Duncan's mother were married to jockeys. Trevor Hulls was a jockey, and my mom obviously married to my dad, Andy Smith, and both Duncan's mom and my mom were sisters of Ray Curling. So, I mean, it's our old racing family.
I'm glad that you mentioned Duncan as well, because as I said, we're here in his yard, and you're up for the weekend or a couple of days. What's it like having, I mean, I can't just think off the top of my head, cousins, first cousins, brothers, sisters, etc., but it's not about that. It's about you and Duncan now, because it's this podcast. To train with your cousin, and I say train with, he's the same profession as you. He's sent horses to you, you've sent horses to him. It must be quite fulfilling, actually, to work with family.
Very much so, Warren. It's nice to work with people you can trust, and we bounce things off each other. And Duncan's like a brother to me. We studied together, and we went to army the same time together. We rode work together. We rode amateur races together.
Did you have a few parties together?
Yes, but we'll leave that as a quieter past. But we grew up together, and our moms were the youngest two sisters, and they were very close.
Okay. Gav, you are here with your three horses. Just list those three horses. This podcast will be broadcast after the big day. But the point is, tell us who those horses are. How did you get them? They seem to be really doing well. And what a privilege and honor it must be for you. Not for the first time, but to come up and race on such a big day.
Oh, it's wonderful for the owners for a big day like that, Warren. That's what they're in racing for. Just trying to represent them. The horses are well. They look really fantastic. And it's three horses that I got. I picked off the sales, and I always go up quite a number of days before and do my homework. And three horses that I picked off the sales. Sylvanian's a Ryzen, but he's a nice big strapping colt, and he's done well in PE. And he had his first run off the gelding down there, and his second run now will be up here. And owned by YDJ Trading, Boats Wagner, him and his wife Yavonga, passionate about their racing. It's just lovely that they got to run on a feature day. And then Family Law also got him off the sales, and he's a nice type, progressive type. Trying him in a mile the first time, but it's definitely going to suit him. Warren, he's a Pomodoro out of a Jetmaster mare, so he's looking for that kind of a trip, and he cracked a nice draw. So just hoping he can run us a forward type of race. And then Happy Holly, she's a Heavenly Blue bred by Ascot Stud, which is down in PE. I did see her on the farm, and lucky enough managed to secure her at the sales and got some nice people involved, and we put people together and a whole bunch of nice racing folk, and they're all just happy to have a runner. She's doing very well. Also cracked a fair draw. 1200 metres seems to be her prime distance.
Gavin, gone are the days where PE was looked at as a weaker centre. Yes, in the past maybe, but now, I mean, PE holds its own around the country as far as I'm concerned. You've had the privilege of and as I say privilege, but it's all because of your results and because of your hard work. You've had some top horses come through your hands. I don't expect you to list them all, but 2 or 3 that really stick out in your memory.
Well, I've probably got to start with W Money. He won, I think it was 16 or 17 races down there. I remember trucking him up to Natal, and we were very unlucky that day. We ran 4th or 5th up here in a feature sprint at Scottsville, also stabled by Duncan. I brought him up in a 2-berth myself. And then also, Bolt Savannah, had him since a baby. Yeah. I mean, you all know what he went on to do. He went to Mark and went over to Dubai, and Jill Thompson flew me over to Dubai to watch him run. Unfortunately, he injured himself before the big race. But he was a lovely horse and progressed as Sylvanas do. He progressed as he got older. And Global Drum, I was fortunate to have him. I also bought him at the sales, and he won, I'm not even sure how many he won. I think he won 18 races. And he's done very well in himself. And then Cruise Control, I also bought him at the sales, obviously because the second dam was family of Cruise Control.
Right. And
he's a lovely horse. He's up with Duncan now, and I think he's going to be a runner on Sunday. Maybe a little bit of a flat run his last start. He ran a cracker first time out, but he's looking well, and he's a nice, honest type.
Gavin, top horses, is what it's all about. But you also give the time and attention, to your average horses, to your horses that are battling to win the maidens, and that's the art, is trying to get that average horse to win its maiden and hopefully go on for your patrons.
Very much so, Warren. In this day and age, ownership sort of changed a little bit. You've obviously got your big clients, your big owners that have got a number of horses, and maybe some have got their own stud farms, etc. But I've got a lot of men in the street owners who have got percentages in horses, and I tell you what, we've got groups of it, and our little social media going, and they absolutely love it. For them to be involved and to watch what you might say is normal type horses go through the ranks, the people have a lot of fun, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely. You just touched on the sales. Well, you got there's sales coming up now. I think at the end of the month, and sales into the new year. Sales around the country, Bloodstock South Africa, Cape racing sales, plenty sales. It's a festive time. It's a busy time, but you go and do the work yourself.
It's a tiring time for me. I find it very busy, and I try and get through all the horses, Warren. I don't have a huge budget to go and to buy top of the range pedigrees, so I've got to do a lot of work, in between to try and find horses at reasonable prices. And you get lucky, and sometimes you don't. You buy a lot of horses that don't feature, but I've been fortunate over the years to buy a lot of horses that have done well, and I've got my ways how I pick the horses, and it's just done me well over the years, and I've been very fortunate.
Gav, when a yearling walks out of, when you call, say, lot 67, you call the lot number out, and the gentleman or gentle lady brings out the horse, what's the first thing that you try and look for? What
catches my eye, Warren, is how they put together straight away. And then a big thing for me is how they use themselves. How they walk, and if they got the right type of eye. And I just got my angles of my hindquarters, deep girth, chest, etc., etc. Everybody's got their own ways in which they pick horses, and and then obviously the page. The page probably dictates where you're going to start paying from. The type of black type, the second, third dam, what they've done. How well performed the mom is, etc. It's probably going to dictate what you're going to have to
pay. To pay.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, where's your stables? Where are they, and your facilities?
Fairview Racecourse. That's down in Port Elizabeth in the Greenbushes area. I've been there from day dot. I remember training with my dad at the old Arlington. We used to have a yard at Arlington. That's in Warmer. And the old Fairview, I used to ride work at the old Fairview, which is now where Green Acres Mall is. Been around a while.
So you say Arlington, is Arlington, they've put up a mall there, have they?
No,
No.
the old Fairview.
Oh, the old Fairview, sorry.
Green
Okay,
Acres
the
and
old.
Morley's. Arlington
Okay.
was subsequently sold, and that was much later. And they've put up like a low-cost housing complexes and stuff there. It's like an estate at the moment. I shouldn't say low-cost housing. It's actually very nice. And yeah, we out at Fairview.
Your team, no man can run a ship of your size and at your competitive level without a top team. And I want you to, when you respond to this question, leave Dean out, because I want to give Dean his time separately. And he is part of the team. But tell us about your team, your head guys and head girls and your assistants.
I've got Victor, Bondas, and Bongi that have been with me for years. Victor's been with me since he was a little guy. His kids and brothers and that have grown up with us, and they're part of the team now as well. Ringo was a top work rider, and yeah, I've got Liabo, who's a good work rider. He's won a number of work rider races. Sadiq, who's also a work rider, but they're very much entrenched part of the team. I've got Francie Jacobs, who's been with me for a number of years now. He's an ex-jockey. He was a top apprentice. I think he used to ride for Mark de Kock as well. Yeah, great guy, hard worker. Doesn't drink, at work every day, spot on time, grinds away. It is a big team effort, Warren, like you say, and everybody's got their part to play. It's a cog in the wheel, and everybody puts it together, you know, and then we put the finished product on the race course on a Friday and, you know, hopefully do well.
Yeah, that's down on a Friday, the festive, you can hear sometimes, you know, not sometimes, all the time when you're watching the races on the TV, the roar from the staff and whoever's at the races, the owners, and you know, it's always great to hear, because people don't realise that, you know, it's to get the horse to that part, and you know you're just about home to win. It's emotional, you know, that's what you do it for. And I think the day I said to somebody, the day for me that I stop sort of shouting and screaming and getting excited is the day you've got to pack it in. I'm not saying that you're not passionate if you don't shout and scream. I'm just saying that when you lose that excitement, you know that time is up.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Now, Dean is obviously your son. Shame. Let's touch on it. He had a nasty accident. Just share with us what happened. That just was terrible, and just shows how quick accidents can happen around horses.
Very much so, Warren. You can't stress enough to people, especially people that are starting off with horses and the equine athletes, and just to be very careful and vigilant of their movements. I remember the day clearly, like it was yesterday.
How long ago was it? Because it feels like yesterday.
It does feel like yesterday. We're talking probably
2 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, two and a half years ago.
Yeah.
We just finished track work. We had actually a trainers meeting at the club, and I had to go over, and Dean said he'll crack on a check-up and what have you. And I remember the phone call. I got an absolute shock, Warren. I could hear in his voice that he got a fright. And he'd actually phoned me and said, Dad, you got to come quickly. So what's wrong, boy? He says, I've been kicked. And when I left the yard, he was walking around checking up, but he'd taken out, one of our horses and took him outside, and he was busy eating grass, and he was on a long rein, and Dean was standing with him. And there actually a horse had got loose from the track, and it came flying through the gate, and this chap, he spooked and took off. It was actually a cruise control. He took off, and as he took off, he kicked out, and he kicked Dean square in the face, right here, just under his nose. It broke his mandibles, he broke his jawbones, he kicked his teeth out, the front teeth were all gone. And I raced back to stables, and when I got there, Dean was trying to pick up his teeth, saying, Dad, can they put my teeth back? I mean, as a father, it's like...
I've got goosebumps.
It's shocking. He was just spitting out blood and teeth and fragments of bone, and, you know, and that was in COVID time, so, you know, rushed him off to hospital.
Sure,
and they wouldn't allow me in.
And
they made him sit outside for the best part of 2 hours holding his face together. And, once they got him in, you couldn't see him. You know, so he was there, and then it was operation after operation and this and that and all the rest. And medical aid wouldn't help. They said it's cosmetic. So it was quite an experience. But I just thank the Lord. We prayed hard. And he's come through it fine.
Obviously, you see him on TV, and you know, we haven't seen him, and I've had the privilege of meeting him and conversing with him over the telephone. A superb youngster. You've also got a magnificent daughter in Abby, which we'll touch on in a moment. Manners and just class about Dean, and he seems to have, well, as I said, maybe I'm wrong because face to face is a bit different. He seems to have recovered well. Not much. Is there scarring? I mean, he seems to have looked good.
Warren, actually, thankfully, like I say, very blessed. It healed superbly. All the damage was more inside than what you could see outer.
Okay.
I'm going to actually show you the pictures of the when they took the X-rays of how it actually cracked his sockets and his jawbone and everything out was actually fractured. But it's healed so nicely. Everything was inside, and they put a plate in. They reconstructed his teeth and everything. They actually had to reconstruct the bone underneath his nose.
Sure.
That half of that was kicked away, and they took from his hip to reconstruct the bone. It's amazing what modern medicine can do. And he's actually a good-looking latte, and actually very blessed the way it's healed.
The bug has bitten him. He loves the racing. He's got your syndicate going. Is it race over? It's as you said earlier on, to hand the reins to him would be great when you one day retire. That's what he wants to do. There's no shadow of a doubt.
There's no shadow of a doubt. The bug's bitten him badly. He lives, eats, sleeps, racing. He's like a walking computer from 400 to finishes this, ran against that and this, that. And
so he's got what we've all got, African horse sickness.
Correct.
He's got it, okay.
Correct.
So that's him. So that's exciting to know, because there's so many youngsters that we need, the youngsters coming through from all aspects. I mean, in our TV department up here in KZN, we've got that youngster Rahil Radhakrishna, who's been groomed to go on and in the future. You've got Mike de Kock's son. And again, I just can't remember everybody, but there's, the Marcuses, the young Marcuses, there's a whole lot of them. Sean Terry's got his two sons, his eldest one especially, that he's grooming. I think it's so heartwarming, Gavin, for the future.
That is very much so. You need it. Racing needs it, Warren. And touching on that, on his schooling, from Grey College in Port Elizabeth, he's got a bunch of mates that he's getting involved, and they all ask him how things are doing and want to get pieces of Syndicate, and it's very nice. And he's got a hell of a nice base of friends, that very nice bunch of guys.
Okay, that's great. That's good. Let's talk about, and if I have forgotten anybody's kids are coming through the ranks, in generalizing, we're saying it's just a wonderful thing to have youngsters come through the ranks. Now, your daughter Abby, not many may know, well, JP van der Merwe, the winning Hollywood Bets Durban July rider, is your son-in-law. He married Abby.
Correct, yeah. Abby is my little sweetheart that JP has to look after. But they get on so well together. I'm very, very happy for them. I'm just absolutely thrilled that he managed to pull off the July. He's had, I think, 5 Group 1s this season, and he's very good to her. And they've got a little baby together, Valentina. She's an absolute little princess.
So you're a grandfather as well.
Quite correct. I'm
you
a
don't look it. You don't look it.
Thank you. But yeah, they've got a beautiful little daughter, and she's the easiest going little baby out. So I'm thrilled for them, and they've got a nice life going in Cape Town now. He rides first choice for Greg Boards, so he's got a solid job. So it's always nice for your family to have a solid income and a solid job, and he's doing well in the Cape. And
so that was So he's so obviously, because he started in Joburg, so he's fully now based in the Cape. If he needs to go to Joburg for if somebody calls him up, he'll go. He travels. He doesn't. I know you've got your riders, but sometimes he rides for you, sometimes he doesn't. But he travels, is what I'm saying. If he needs to travel, he'll travel.
If he needs to travel, he chats to Greg. Obviously on a Friday he's busy and he's riding work and stuff like that, so he doesn't really do Port Elizabeth. But in saying that as well, Warren, it's a professional business and there's a lot of pressure that goes with it. And Dean and myself put the guys under pressure. It's just the way it is. By Saturday morning, it's gone again. And sometimes it's difficult if family's riding for you, you know, and they make a mistake. We all make mistakes as trainers, jockeys, everything as racing goes. And, it sort of puts you in the middle a little bit. So, sometimes you don't need that pressure, Warren. So,
good point.
Yeah, it's nicer than the way they are doing at the moment. I'm very happy for them.
And Abby, of course, she's grown up with horses and she's involved obviously with her husband being a rider, so she's in it for that. Is that her only involvement through you, of course, and Dean? But she's experiencing more the jockey side than the training side. That's what I'm trying to say.
100%. Yeah.
Okay. Now, owners. We talk about your team and your brothers with you, of course. You're part of your team. Owners. Sure. I mean, to try and get new owners in is difficult, but I think what we've done in South Africa is we've accepted the fact that it is difficult, but a lot of people are getting up and doing something about it. And syndication is most certainly the way to go. I was actually driving on the highway out to Umhlanga the other day, and I was just thinking, not to put a negative comment on, but it is expensive to own a racehorse. We know that. I mean, it's no secret. Keep and expenses and all that goes with it, it's expensive. Like anything, like golf, like whatever sport you're involved in. And I just thought, actually, thank God for syndicates, because we've got a little syndicate going as well. And we've got two guys that phoned me once and they said, my dream is to own a racehorse. We've never had a share in a racehorse. It can't happen. I said, well, don't you joking? Of course it can happen. And they've since taken only 5%, but 5% is 5%. And the horse has ended up winning 3 races. And to this day, I still get WhatsApps. Thank you, to this beautiful industry, racing, ownership, so affordable. So owners we need, and thankfully through the syndicates, they're coming. Slowly, but they're coming.
100%, Warren. It definitely, and we need the youth of today. The product of racing is under pressure because of all the other betting sites out there and all the other sports that you can bet on, etc., etc. But the thrill of owning a racehorse, I think shared ownership is the way to go. Yeah. And it opens the door for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've had some long-standing owners. I mean, we can't go through all your owners, but you've had some long-standing clients and faithful clients.
100%, Warren. And that is an absolute blessing on its own. Long-standing faithful clients. I remember when Mr. Laurie Jaffe used to phone me, my boy, are they worth keeping? You're still worth feeding? Okay, crack on, and it's lovely to have clients like that. And I remember from my dad's days, Peter Morum used to be Firestone, South Africa's general manager. And, to have guys like that passionate about their horses, let you do what you have to do. They pay you to do a job. You get up in the morning, you do it to the best of your ability. And I'm fortunate enough to have Lady Laidlaw, Kai Stables, Drakenstein support me, Gaynor Rupert and Kevin, and obviously my big clients, Hollywood. I can't thank Owen, Devin and Anthony enough for the support and what they're doing for racing. You look at Natal, what they're doing for racing, and Mary Slack, got horses from Mary. It's a list, Hen and Pretorius, Lammerskal Stud. I just don't want to leave anybody out. But it's you're fortunate to get clients like that, Warren. It's a hard industry, and there's a lot of competition out there. Although competition is good, stops complacency. But I don't want to leave any clients out just off the top of my head.
Yeah. Well, as I said, always. Respectfully, we tell everybody, it's, if a name is admitted, it's not sort of any malice or any intention. It's just because we can't remember everybody's name. But the fact of the matter is that all owners are really appreciated and needed in Gavin's stable and in racing in general. Owners we respect, and the punters. Everybody plays their part in racing. Just before we end off, hobbies. I mean, I know you live and breathe horses. You're always at the yard. Or at the races, but if you do get 10 minutes to catch your breath, what do you like to do?
Spare time is, I don't know, I think everybody's in the same boat. You're working longer and harder for less. That's just the changing times. But my wife, Marilyn, her and I, I've got a bike that I've had for, 15, 20 years, paid for, stands in the garage. If we can get a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday where we jump on the bike and we go up the garden route, Warren, that's what I really like to do to relax. That has to take your mind off racing and horses, because you've got to concentrate on what you're doing. Yes. So if we get a gap with that, we do. Otherwise, to relax, family time. Marilyn's probably my best friend, and her and I, we spend as much time as we can together when I've got the spare time. She works long hours, and I work very stupid hours. I mean, the hours of a trainer. And sometimes you just pass in the passage and just say morning or afternoon or whenever we can catch up. And her daughter's still at school, Rebecca, so we got a lot of time. We're dropping off after school activities, etc., etc. But you try and do everything together.
Marilyn she's busy. She's not part of. She doesn't work with you in the yard. She works with the RA, does she?
She works for ROA.
ROA, yes.
And she's just taken up position with 4 Racing as well. So she's working 2 jobs, and she does the events coordinator, and awards evenings and any type of functions they've got. She's on top of that. So she's really kept busy, but she loves what she's doing. She's very good at it.
You can see that, you know, she does the check presentations. She's always bubbly, happy, smile on the face. And of course, when I've had the privilege of being in her company, and just she's lovely to be around.
No, she's a lovely person, inside and out.
Yeah.
And you know, her boy is now overseas at the moment. He's joined the Marines.
Okay, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. And he's just finished his, I think, last week of training now. And it was hard for him to stick it out, but to see what they go through, Warren, is mind-boggling.
Sure.
The training, but he's absolutely enjoying it. So I'm just thrilled for Jordan as well.
Gav, it's been lovely, and I know we don't want to go on for too long, but it's been great to be in your company and just to hear your story. All that might have been the microwave version, you know, because of our time constraints. But thank you, and to you and your family and everybody, and I say to you for what you do for racing, because you know all the trainers, jockeys, everybody, the role players all do something, and I just hope that your stable continues to go from strength to strength. And just thanks for your time.
Absolute pleasure, Warren.
Lovely. Well, that's Gavin Smith from Smith Racing down in Port Elizabeth. Lovely to catch up with him and hear about what makes the Smith stable tick. That's it from me, and more action to come next week. The end of the KZN season, racing season, will have come and gone, and we'll be into the new season by the time you see this podcast. So all that's left is for me to wish you well, punt well, and as always, we'll see you in the number 1 box.